Hi. I am Sheriff Jim Olson. Spelling on that is O-L-S-O-N. And I'm Sheriff of Carver County. That's C-A-R-V-E-R. This is Jason Cameron. I'll let him spell his name, Chief Deputy.
Chief Deputy of the Carver County Sheriff's Office, Jason Cameron, J-A-S-O-N, K-A-M-E-R-U-D.
This is Mayor Denny Laufenberger, Mayor of Chanhassen.
Chanhassen is spelled C-H-A-N-H-A-S-S-E-N. I am the mayor, Denny, D-E-N-N-Y, Laufenberger, L-A-U-F-E-N-B-U-R-G-E-R.
And this is Martha Weaver from the Midwest Medical Examiner's Office.
Good afternoon, everyone. Martha, M-A-R-T-H-A, Weaver, W-E-A-V as in Victor, E-R, spokesperson for Midwest Medical Examiner's Office.
Welcome to Carver County. I wish it was under different circumstances. This is a tragedy for all of us. To you, Prince Rogers Nelson was a celebrity. To us, he's a community member and a good neighbor. To his family, he is a loved one. In life, he was a very private person. We're going to continue to respect his privacy and his dignity and hope that you will do as well. And hope that you do as well. We also respect the media's right to information. Bear in mind that this incident happened about 29 hours ago and continues to be under investigation. There are some things regarding this investigation that I will not be able to talk about. I'm going to give you a statement, and we will then take some questions that you may have. At about 9:43 yesterday morning, we received a medical call at Paisley Park in Chanhassen. Chanhassen Fire, the Carver County Sheriff's Office, and Ridgeview Ambulance all responded to the call. That is our standard protocol, and it's not unusual at all for us to have everybody respond to a medical like that. They found an unresponsive male in the elevator. CPR was initially started, but was unsuccessful. He was pronounced deceased at 10:07. We have identified him as Prince Rogers Nelson, 57 years old. Staff members from Paisley Park had been unable to contact Prince yesterday morning and went to check on him. They found him unresponsive and called 911. Deputies went through the building to make sure that there was nobody else inside. Because this was an unwitnessed death of a middle-aged adult, the decision was made to process the scene. That is also normal protocol. It is not different from what we normally would do. There should be no, we ended up contacting the Hennepin County Crime Lab to help us with that, and there should be no inference taken from that. It's not unusual for them to come out and do those types of calls. We finished with our processing late yesterday afternoon and turned Paisley Park back over to Prince's representatives. Again, because this investigation is ongoing, I will not be answering questions on whether or not there were any items that were taken during our processing. The Midwest Medical Examiner's Office was contacted, and Dr. Quinn Strobel, who is the Carver County Medical Examiner, responded. There were no obvious signs of trauma on the body at all. The body was transported to Dr. Strobel's office for an autopsy, and that is being done today. Results from that autopsy may take several weeks, which is not unusual. Again, this will continue to be an open investigation until the autopsy results come back, and we are ready to take questions that you may have.
Sheriff Olson, Hannah Thomas-Peter from Sky News.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the 911 callers said that there were people in the home who were distraught. Could you tell us any more about who was in the home with Prince at the time of his death?
There were some staff members that were there that had went to check on him, and that's all I'm going to respond to with that at this time.
Was there a suicide note found?
I am not responding to any kind of questions regarding what may have been taken. We have no reason to believe at this point that this was a suicide. But again, this is early on in this investigation, and it's continuing to, we're continuing to investigate.
Sheriff,
Any indication
Ma'am.
how long he had been in that elevator? Had he been wearing the clothes from the night before? Was he wearing new clothes?
We have not received that information from the medical examiner's office at this time. It had not been in the couple of minutes before first responders had arrived.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
And it had not been within the couple of minutes before the first responders had arrived, though, with that.
Sheriff, you said he's a very private person or was a
Yeah.
very private person. Was he a healthy person?
I'm not the right one to answer that. We'll let the medical examiner talk about that when that time comes.
So prior to 421, yesterday, were there any medical calls made to that address in the weeks before?
I have checked calls for service in our log for that address, as well as for, in Prince's name directly. There were no calls involving Prince in the past year that we have had. Paisley Park, Prince does some concerts there sometimes and get-togethers and so on. So it's not unusual for us to receive calls at Paisley Park itself. There was nothing that I'm aware of that involved Prince directly at Paisley Park. Sir, go ahead.
From BBC News.
Yes.
Are you able to confirm whether Prince was taking any medication at the time of his death?
I am not able to confirm that at this time at all.
Sheriff, could I ask you a question over here?
Sure, sir.
You can explain to us, give us an idea of what the investigation will entail now, what types of people, I know you're not going to give us specifics, so what types of people will you be interviewing? I know this is a long and detailed process, it's more than just what happens to the body.
Yeah, we'll be talking to people that are close to him. We'll be gathering some medical records and taking a look at those between us and the medical examiner's office and working off of that from there.
Sheriff, when you say staff members were inside the home.
Yes.
Were they there before he collapsed in the elevator? Is there a timeline for how long he may have been home by himself? Do you have any of that information so far?
They were trying to reach him yesterday morning and were unable to reach them. Reach Prince. So they responded to Paisley Park to look for him and found him unresponsive in the elevator.
So he was alone at home?
That is correct. Yeah, we did not, we did clear and go through the residence at the time and did not find anybody else there.
Sheriff, Derek Hinkle, AFP. I'm wondering, are you cooperating with any other jurisdictions, and are you looking at all into the flight that had an immediate return to Illinois?
We will be looking at all of that. Yes.
And Sheriff,
Can you tell me what you've done so far, or you're just looking into it?
Our detectives, this is 29 hours old. Our detectives are currently working on this case, so there are things that they are working on.
Are you cooperating with any other jurisdictions?
Yes, of course we are.
Sheriff,
We always cooperate with them.
if I could ask for clarification, you said
Sure.
that there were no calls involving Prince in the last year. Are you aware of any hospital visits that he may have had recently?
There are no calls involving the Carver County Sheriff's Office that I'm aware of.
I know you said you wouldn't get specific about things that were taken out of the home, but was there medication taken out of the home?
Again, I'm not going to get specific on what was taken or was not taken from the home.
Do you know if there have been these reports that he could have been on some sort of medication, Percocet, things like, have you gotten any evidence of that? Have you talked to anyone about that?
This case is currently under investigation, and I'm not going to talk about that at this time. Thank you.
From Mullen, Illinois, as well as his pharmaceutical records locally?
We will be, between us and the medical examiner's office, we'll be looking at all of that, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
There are reports that he frequented a local Walgreens several times in the past week. Have you been there to talk to the employees there? Have you pulled any surveillance video, and what have they said?
That is part of the investigation, and that would be our normal protocol, certainly, to pull any type of video or so on. So that's not what I said. I said that would be our normal protocol. This case is 29 hours old, and it continues to evolve for us, so.
Sheriff, how detailed are your crime scene investigators?
Excuse me.
Sorry, Sheriff. How detailed are your crime scene investigators working in this processing this scene? Can you kind of talk to us about how meticulous you guys are working and who's helping out?
Well, Hennepin County Crime Lab is helping us from a processing standpoint, and they are meticulous. That is what they do. So they are very meticulous. Photos and so on.
Is there any indication of how long he was in the elevator? Had it been overnight, do you believe?
You know, we're going to wait from the medical examiner's office to give us some of that information. And I've cut somebody off over here. Yeah, ma'am, I'm sorry.
It's actually a question for the medical examiner, so.
Sure. And she's the public information officer. She's not the medical examiner.
Yes. Yes.
So is there any sign of a drug or prescription drug overdose found at the studio?
There's no information at this time in regard to exactly what you're talking about as part of the investigation. Let me give you a little bit of background about Midwest Medical Examiners. We are working as part of the investigative team with the sheriff's office. So much of the answers that I will be able to give you today will include the word pending. So we received the call at 10:12 yesterday morning to come and assist the Carver County Sheriff's Office in this investigation. Our chief medical examiner arrived on the scene at 11:30 yesterday morning, local time, and was on the scene for several hours. The autopsy this morning began at 9 a.m. Central Daylight Time and concluded at 1 p.m. And just shortly, I received word that his body did leave Midwest Medical Examiner's office and was released to the family. As you know, it was a very meticulous exam. It was a complete exam. And so several of the pieces of information that are gathered in that process will be sent to labs for further testing. So that answer is pending, and it will take days and weeks to complete those particular investigations.
Ma'am, is it possible to say when he died? I know time of death was pronounced at 7 minutes past 10, but had he been dead overnight in the elevator, do you know when he actually stopped breathing?
That information is pending.
Do you know what time he was removed from the building there, from Paisley Park? Do you know what time he was removed?
15:39,
That's when he left Paisley Park to go to your place.
yes.
Can I ask you a question over here?
Yes, my question is for the sheriff, WCCO radio. Was there any extra people brought in because this was Prince, or any extra deputies or anything like that different because it was Prince?
There were a number of people that started gathering across the street very early, as well as media. So yes, we certainly did bring other people in to help from a crowd control standpoint and to assist us with that. As far as from a scene processing standpoint, it's a very large area, Paisley Park is, so we had to bring a couple extra people in, and that was part of the reason also for having Hennepin County assist us with that.
You had to search room to room, is that what you're talking about because of the building size?
Yeah, the building is pretty big.
Sheriff, was
So.
there surveillance cameras at Paisley Park, and do you have them?
That will be part of the investigation. I don't want to comment on that right now.
Sheriff, does it appear that he used the elevator because he felt he was about to pass out or was unable to take a stairwell? Did he have access to stairways, or was he getting on the elevator intentionally?
Yeah, he certainly does have access to stairways. Paisley Park, again, is a big place. And I don't think it would be unusual for him to use the elevator. The staircases are pretty long. So I don't think that would be unusual. If that's why he took the elevator or not, I can't say.
Did he hit the ground in the elevator? Does it appear that he collapsed inside of the elevator?
Yes, he was collapsed inside the elevator. That is correct. I haven't been over. Okay, go ahead.
Do you know when the last time he was seen alive and, at what point he had retired for the night at the house?
The information we have right now is that he was last seen about 8 o'clock Wednesday night.
Where was that?
At Paisley Park. She had been
Sheriff or
dropped
Mayor,
off there.
Just a question, had you met Prince before the mayor or the sheriff would like to answer? And if so, what was that interaction like, if you had met Prince before?
I did meet Prince, but it wasn't in my capacity as mayor. When I was in business, I had the pleasure of riding in an airplane with him. Our plane was waiting for departure, and there were 2 seats in front of me waiting for, they were empty, and very soon after that, the stewardess escorted Prince and a member of his entourage. So that was the only time I had an encounter. I didn't greet him, hello, and but as mayor of Chanhassen, I have never had a reason to or occasion to meet him.
Sheriff?
And we would see Prince from a law enforcement standpoint occasionally. You know, he would have concerts at Paisley Park, and we would help with some traffic assistance and those kinds of things. He lived in Chanhassen for a long time and had 2 different residences that he lived in, not counting Paisley Park itself. So he had been a longtime member of the community and really a good neighbor for everybody.
Were you a fan?
Sheriff, have you talked to his personal doctor?
Sheriff,
Sir.
you said there's no reason to believe that this was a suicide. Is there any reason to believe that foul play was involved?
We have no reason to believe at this time it's a suicide. The rest of it's under investigation. So
Sheriff,
I'll
have you
leave
talked to
it
his personal doctor, and couldn't a lot of the questions around medication be cleared up by talking to his doctor?
That's going to be part of the investigation. Is we'll certainly have contact with any medical personnel that he's had contact with.
So again, have you talked to his doctor?
This investigation is 29 hours old. Our investigators are currently working on it. I have not talked to them in the past however long, so I don't know specifically who they have talked to and who they haven't at this point.
Do you know approximately how many doctors you will be speaking with? Did he have multiple?
I don't have that information right now. I don't know. He was on the first floor, whoever asked that question over there.
Sheriff?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any rumors that you would like to dispel at this time? About the nature of his death or any part of the investigation?
You know, there have been so many rumors I've read about. I don't know if I can dispel all the rumors that are out there. And no, I mean, this is under investigation. And, yeah, this is under investigation still.
One more question. Was a search warrant issued?
We did do a search warrant, yes. And that is also, would be normal protocol. Paisley Park is very large. It's hard to say who had control at the time, or who could have given us permission to process that scene. So we just thought it would be safer and better for us to get a search warrant on the front end to do that. So yes, we did get a search warrant. The search warrant has not been filed as of yet, and will be filed in the next, probably the next week and a half or so.
So the
with
request
that.
that you made, what was it for?
To process the scene at Paisley Park. And or process the area at Paisley Park, and I don't have a copy of that search warrant in front of me,
For the
so.
representative from the medical examiner's office, I wanted to ask you,
Pardon?
the procedure you follow, because different offices do different things. Some offices sometimes release some initial preliminary information that has nothing to do with the toxicology test. For example, that might give you an indication how long he had been dead when they found him. Are you going to have at least a preliminary report on some initial information before we get the toxicology thing, or?
The short answer is no. The explanation is that we are here in the capacity of serving the Carver County Sheriff's Office as part of their investigative team. And so we will complete our results, and on behalf of the Midwest Medical Examiner's Office, the office will not release any information until our results are complete. It is determined by the sheriff what his office chooses to release, whether it is preliminary as it comes in or when it is complete.
Was his body released to his sister Tika Nelson, as that's his only full-blood relative left, you understand?
His body was released to his family.
So to be clear, do you not have a preliminary cause of death, or are you not willing to share it?
Our results are pending.
What do you expect the timeline to be for your report?
It could be days, depending on the type of test, and most likely weeks, to have the complete set of results available to us, and that's when Midwest Medical Examiner's Office would release it.
Sheriff, how many investigators do you currently have working on this case, and how many agencies are working together to pull this together?
We've got, 3-4 agencies that are working on this, and I've got a number of detectives that are working on it. This is a very large, let me rephrase that. This is a high-profile case for us, but the county continues, life in the county continues to go on, and there's also other cases that we have that we are currently working on. I'm not sure exactly how many detectives I have working specifically on this case right now.
Sheriff, question over here, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Fox News Channel. So the plane landed in Illinois, we know that. When he refused a room at the hospital, as the reports kind of indicate now, are you looking into anything, was there anything unusual at MSP or wherever he landed than up here that you can talk about or that you know about? Can you just?
I don't know anything. I know as much about that currently that you do from reading the paper.
And I can address that for a
So,
moment, too.
okay, thank you.
So again, I'm speaking on behalf of our chief medical examiner, and when we say that we're going to be doing a complete exam, that not only includes the present state of the body that is brought to us, but also the medical history of the individual, the family medical history of the individual. So those types of things will be encompassed in the medical examiner's report that will be delivered to the sheriff for his investigation.
And which would, to include reaching back to Illinois, to the Quad Cities.
It will include his medical history, his social history, and his family's medical history as well. Sir. I would assume that they would request them as part of this investigation.
Yeah, between us and the medical examiner, absolutely. We do have access to those.
How
Is the BCA helping you with this investigation at all?
At this point, we have not reached out to the BCA for assistance with this.
Is the Prince family cooperating with this investigation? Are they pretty willing and helping? Because I talked to a couple of family members yesterday, and they said they're trying to keep a lot of things kind of quiet. Are they working with you in any way? Or?
Yeah, I've had contact with Prince's family and Prince's representatives, and they have been very cooperative. We haven't had any problems with that at all.
When you say no obvious signs of trauma,
Yep.
what does that mean? Like, what would be a sign of trauma? Like, what is it that you're clearing?
Well, a sign of trauma would be some sign of violence or something violent had happened. There was no sign of that at all.
Sheriff, what happens to Paisley Park? Does he have a will?
That'll be up to the estate. I'm not privy to that.
This is a question for the medical examiner.
Hang on one second.
How long will the sheriff's office maintain a presence out at Paisley Park? Have those roadways closed, and there's no, how long will crowds be allowed to gather outside the complex?
You know, we'll allow crowds to gather as long as they're on Paisley Park's property there, and we'll.
Across the street?
Correct. Yeah, that's part of Paisley's property there, and we'll allow them to gather as long as Paisley Park's okay. We'll reevaluate that until Monday morning probably anyway, and see where we're at and what's going on there.
And road closures, are the roads continuing through Monday?
Yes, that road is going to be closed up until Monday.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Examiner's office. Could you describe to us exactly what sort of tests your office would undertake on any case when there is an unwitnessed death?
Was she talking to you? I'm sorry, I didn't. Okay. I'll get out of your way.
No. So essentially, it will be a full panel of tests. There will be tissue samples done, and there will also be toxicology samples done based on blood draws. And that's the most I'm going to say about it at this time.
What is the spectrum of toxicology tests that you would normally undertake in a case?
A full spectrum, and that's the most I'm going to say about it.
Sheriff, when you talked about the last time he was seen, was Wednesday night around 8 p.m., was he out, or was that just him being at home by members of the staff? Was he out and about in the community?
Somebody dropped him off at home, about 8 o'clock that night.
So it was the staff members that saw him last, or it was an acquaintance that you all spoke with that last saw him?
Yes, that is correct. It was an acquaintance that he was with that dropped him off. Yeah.
Sheriff, was it usual that he would be the only occupant of this huge complex? I mean, you said that staffers tried to get in contact with him and were unable to do that. Were there no security personnel?
Prince is a very private person, and I don't think that would be unusual for him to be there by himself.
Sheriff, you mentioned staff was trying to reach him. The person who actually made the 911 call, do you know their relationship? Are you able to share that?
911 callers' information is private, and I can't share that.
Was that a staff member or?
Again, 911 callers are private.
Sheriff, do you know if the elevator was inspected?
He was dressed at the time, if he was in day clothes or his sleeping clothes, overnight clothes?
He was in clothes. I can't say I know for sure at this point what he sleeps in versus what he may go out in. So I don't know for sure if those are sleep clothes or what type of clothes. You know, he had on a shirt, he had on pants of some sort. He was dressed.
Sheriff, question here. Was there an elevator phone? And if so, when was the last time this elevator was inspected? Do you have any of that information?
I don't believe there was an elevator phone.
Excuse me, sir.
I don't think so.
Are there
Yes.
any scenes outside of Walgreens and Paisley Park that are of interest to you or that you will be processing? For instance, the plane in Chanhassen.
If there are things that should lead us that direction, sure, we would certainly do that.
Not at this stage.
Pardon?
But you're not aware of any at this stage.
Again, it's 29 hours old. Our detectives are working on it, and I'm not sure where they're at right now currently.
On that note, have you requested any additional search warrants, and if so, where and when and who?
Yeah, we haven't done any additional at this point.
Prince apparently had other homes. Do you know how long he was living at Paisley Park, or how long he considered that a home address?
You know, Prince moved around a little bit and would travel quite often. I can't say for sure how long he had been there, but, you know, he did stay there frequently and considered that, I think, his main residence.
Sheriff, you said there were signs that he did collapse in the elevator. Was there any signs that he may have hit his head, or was it just a simple collapse?
There was no obvious signs of trauma to the body that we observed. Now, I don't know at this point what the medical examiner may have found during the autopsy, if anything would have showed, but there was nothing at all that indicated an obvious sign of trauma.
Can you give that to me?
Mick Jagger's
Okay.
owned Prince.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Was his cell phone there, and was there any kind of an indication that he had reached for his cell phone or made any attempt to call for help?
I don't recall seeing a cell phone in the close proximity. I don't recall a cell phone in the close proximity to where he was at.
If some of his staff had cell phones, would you be checking their records or looking to see if they took any pictures?
That would be part of our investigation, and I don't want to share that this time.
Sheriff, were you there yourself? Did you see the body yourself?
I was there for a period of time yesterday.
I mean, but when it was first discovered, were you there with the first group that was there?
No, I had other things that were going
How
on.
would you describe the mood? I mean, could you detect a mood inside Paisley Park at that moment when, obviously at that moment they knew Prince was there? What was the mood inside the Paisley Park?
You know, it was certainly somber. You know, he was a friend, I think, to the people who was there, as well as being an employer, and they were certainly shook by what had happened. Sure.
Sheriff, does your
Any
department-
staff members under investigation and any potential criminal charges?
This all continues to be under investigation, and we'll do a complete and thorough investigation, and it's better with this for us to do it well than for us to do it fast. So we're gonna do the best job that we can.
Sheriff, I wonder, does your department commonly carry the antidote for opiate or heroin overdose as a standard procedure, and was that dispatched on this call?
All of our officers carry Narcan. We've been carrying that for approximately 2 years, and that was not used at all yesterday. Oh, and I heard somebody over in this direction?
Sure.
Okay.
Sheriff, the person who did make the 911 call, a staff member apparently from the transcript did not know the address, didn't know the address of where they were?
I don't know if that would be unusual with that, for not knowing the address. I mean, you know, I'm sure they knew where it was. I'm sure there's probably a number of people out here that don't necessarily know the address to their news buildings and so on, so I don't think that would be unusual.
Sheriff, are private citizens allowed in Minnesota to have Narcan or that type of, emergency stopping opiate drug?
You know, there's some discussion that's currently going on with that from a legislative standpoint. I don't believe at this point that private citizens can have Narcan.
Just medical professionals?
Law enforcement, fire can now carry it. That was something that went through the legislature last year, year before.
Sheriff, and this is a question I'm going to follow up with. Were you a Prince fan yourself? Did you like his music?
Yeah, certainly, you know, I'm the same age as Prince is, and yeah, know his music well, and sure, I like Prince's music. Yeah. Sir?
Was there any music playing when the police arrived? Basically, what was the last song Prince heard?
I did not hear any music on in the residence at all, or in the building at all.
How many employees were there when you arrived?
3. There were 3 people that were there.
Are you asking anything from the public?
You know, I would ask for, again, Prince was a very private person, and I would ask the public and everybody to respect that privacy and treat that with dignity, as well as all of you with that. So, one more question, I'm going to be done.
You mentioned filing a search warrant within the next week. I mean, what's the probable cause for that?
We have 10 days legally and wish to file a search warrant with the courts, so. And I don't know at this time when that might be done, but we have 10 days to do that. I want to thank everybody for coming. This is certainly a big event internationally and nationally, and I can tell you that we are going to leave no stone unturned with this and make sure that, that the public knows what happened. So,
Can I make a comment too?
yes, absolutely.
How many of you were a fan? A lot? A lot. I think that, we would like to extend our thanks to everyone for showing such respect for this situation. For our generation, he was the songbook and the narrative for some of the greatest moments in our individual lives, much like Elvis Presley and Ira Gershwin before him. And this is something that we remember and we take very, very seriously, and we appreciate the respect and the dignity and the outpouring of support that everyone has shown, not only to his family, but to the law enforcement officers working on this, to the state of Minnesota that so proudly claimed him and adored him. And this is something that is very gravitas for everyone involved. So we appreciate the respect that has been shown by everyone in this situation.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Sheriff, one more question?
You're saying that Narcan wasn't needed. Is it